Hi, I'm Geeta. I'm managing Australia process. My colleague Himanshi and Sanam will answer the queries which we normally get from immigrants or our prospective clients. So let's Sanam, we can start the questions which we normally get from our clients. So what do you get normally when you start counseling and you get a query from clients?
See, if we specifically talk about the basic queries that we receive from prospective immigrants or our clients, that is the point-based system. So, what is the points criteria for Canada, Australia, or Denmark or Hong Kong?
Yeah, first question, whenever we get any clients, he will ask what is the criteria for immigration, whether he is looking for Australia or Canada or Denmark. So Himanshi, how do you answer that?
Each country has their own point-based system. If we talk about Canada, it is 67 points based on their age, education, and experience. If we talk about Australia, then it's 60 points based on these factors only: age, education, and experience. And if we talk about Denmark, it's 100 points, considering the same factors.
So normally, what are the alternate options you provide to the clients if he is not meeting the criteria for, let's say he is here, he is looking for Australia, but he is not meeting the criteria for Australia. So what do you provide him, the alternate country options?
Yes, so we'll check his profile if he's eligible for some other country, say like Denmark, Australia, Canada, or some other countries, whichever we are providing it. If he's eligible for that country, we'll provide him that option.
Next, once we start the process, client signs up with us. Next, he will contact the process department and he'll be allocated a process executive. He starts asking the questions related to process documentations. So if the client is not able to get the documents related to his employment, or do you have any alternates? Or
Yes, we have many alternates which we use to provide to our clients if they are not if they are not able to get the employer reference letter, which is the major part of the documentation on which your experience is based on. So that is the key document which we require from the client side, and if he is not able to provide us that, we have many other alternative which we use to provide to the client.
What is the band score required for all these programs? I mean, is it same for every country, or how do we go about it?
No, it's not same for any. Each country has their own band requirement. If we talk about Canada, they say 6 in each bands, and if we talk about Denmark, it's 6.5 in each band, and if we talk about Australia, it's 7 in each band.
but one can eligible with 6 also, but the higher is the score, the faster is the invite. If he will talk about Canada also, if the applicant is able to score 7 or more than 7, he'll get invite fast, his ranking will be high. So depending on the score, one can get invite fast, but minimum eligibility criteria with 6 also one can apply for immigration, whether he is looking for Canada, Australia or Denmark.
So it's like higher the points, higher the chances, yeah, which we get from the client.
For basically, if we talk about Canada specifically and Australia, it's somewhere around 60 days that we get for updating our documentation. That is the validity period. So in that particular time, we have to provide the required documentation to the authorities so that they can proceed with the information that we have provided. So minimum time is 60 days.
At the time of submission, does client needs to pay the fee also?
Yes, at the time of submission, there is the processing fees. For all the countries have their own processing fees, different processing fees, and at the time of submission of invitation, we need to pay the fees.
And how about the secondary applicant? The spouse also has to appear for language test, or is it mandatory, or we can skip it?
It depends, like if one wants to claim the points for spouse education, or you can say secondary applicant education, so he can go for the assessment. If he'll go for the assessment, he'll get additional points for that. So it totally depends on the client. If he wants to increase the chances of getting picked up in the pool, we always advise our clients to go for that, so that their CRS points can be increased.
Okay.
And they can be easily picked up from the
Same with Australia?
Same with Australia.
All right. Okay. Is it mandatory to get the qualification assessment done for the secondary applicant?
Sanam, it's same like IELTS, which we just have talked about. It's same like if we'll go for assessment of secondary applicant, so the principal applicant will get additional points in the CRS ranking and their other point system. So if they'll get it done, they'll get the additional points, and there are chances of getting picked up from the pool.
Okay. So it totally depends.
It totally depends. Yeah, it's totally client's
Mandatory like IELTS, and same for Australia as well, that
Yes.
we need not to provide the qualification assessment for the spouse. It is not
If he's claiming points for partner assessment, he wants to claim 5 additional points for secondary applicant. He needs to get the credential assessment, as well as partner needs to clear the language test also.
Okay. Right, and for Australia, when we specifically talk about subclass 489, a person completes 3 to 4 years of stay in Australia. So can he or she apply for the permanent residency?
Yes, of course, he can apply for permanent residency. He can apply immediately after completion of his stay of 2 years and work of 1 year.
2 years of stay and 1 year of work experience.
He is eligible to apply for PR.
Okay.
Because initially he'll get 4 years of temporary visa. To apply temporary to permanent resident visa, the criteria is he should stay there for 2 years and work there for 1 year.
Alright.
Yeah, so he can always get his temporary visa to be converted in permanent resident visa.
Okay. And the PR status will be applicable, I mean the laws will be applicable when at the time of submission of the application, or what laws will be?
Yeah, that time the law will be applicable at that time when he'll apply for his PR.
Okay.
Because when he has applied for provisional visa of 489, that time the law was that he'll get a 4 years of visa. So applying for PR at that moment, whatever will be the law, that will be applicable for him.
Okay, that means after 3 to 4 years, whatever will be the laws, it will be applicable on his application to permanent residency. Okay.
So, do we need to do an EOI and state sponsored simultaneously?
No, it depends. First we submit the EOI, and then whenever state announces their list, state has their own criteria. One has to meet that criteria, and according to the state, we need to submit a separate application to state. And then state will see his EOI, and accordingly he'll pick up from EOI to state nomination.
Okay, and in Canada?
In Canada also, one needs to first submit his expression of interest, and then there is a provisional nominee program. Every provisional nominee program, like we talk about Ontario, they has their own list of occupation. Their profile should be listed in their list. Then they have their own list of documents required, which we need to prepare. We need to fill up the forms, etc., and then send the file to province for a nomination. And we get a nomination looking at the EOI and province requirement.
Okay. Because we usually get these questions from client these days, that whether they can apply simultaneously or they have different procedures for both.
In case of Canada, first we need to apply, depends upon the states in which we are applying. Okay. And in case of Australia, it is applied.
Basically, in both the countries, first we need to apply for EOI, and after that, as per the state requirement, we need to submit the state application. Yes.
Okay, you just talked about subclass 489. So, is job offer required for that?
See, job offer is not a must requirement for as far as 489 subclass is concerned, but yes, in some states it is required. 489 is basically a regional sponsorship in which we should have an employment offer or a relative staying in that particular state or the region from in which we are applying.
There are 3 alternate options to apply for 489. Either you get a state sponsorship, or you have relative who is staying in that state, or you have job offer from that state. So any one can be applicable for individual applicant to applicant situation.
And can we change the subclass of the visa once we file for EOI?
Yes, we can always update the information in EUI till we get the invite. If there is any change in his updated IELTS score, or he has completed his higher study, or he has changed his employment, we can always change the subclass also, depending if he has scored good in IELTS. Definitely he'll go for a general skilled visa. He'll not go for a state visa, because it depends. If he scores good, he can always change his information in the EUI till he gets the invites.
So it is possible to update any information till the time we get invite.
Yes, it is possible.
Should qualification assessment and IELTS be valid at the time of invitation?
Yes, it should be valid till we submit the application. Once we receive the invite, that time also, and we have 60 days time. Within that period also, IELTS and credential assessment should be valid.
We have to give. Okay. How much time do we have to give? We have for language test.
See, it depends which country you are applying. For Canada, it is required at the time of applying EOI. Same with Australia. However, in case of Australia, some assessment bodies require it at stage 1, which is the first step for Australian process. Like we file for assessment of qualifications from ACS, VETSs or Engineers Australia. So in case of ACS and VETSs, we don't require it at first stage. For Engineers Australia, it is required at first stage. And in case of Denmark, if we talk about, it is required at the time of applying. All the documents will be submitted along.
So Sanam, in Denmark, is it the online process or we have to submit the documents in hard copy?
For Denmark, we need to submit the hard copy to the VFS centers available in designated cities. Yeah, and initial payment that we need to do, that is an online process, but all the documents will be submitted. Paper-based application is there.
So what is the processing time for that?
Processing time for Denmark, if total we talk about, somewhere around 9 to 12 months. Yeah, it takes somewhere around 9 to 12 months.
And normally I heard that Danish is mandatory. Is it requirement to apply for this visa, or it's not required?
No, Danish language is not a must requirement to apply under this Denmark Green Card program. But yes, if you learn Danish language, it will certainly help you post landing in the country, because this is going to be the local language of the country. Yeah.
Okay, so is if we talk about occupation, they have no meaning in case of a relative sponsorship?
No, there is a meaning for that. If one is looking for relative sponsored visa, so his profile must be listed under skilled occupation list. Australia has, there are two different type of occupation list. One is skilled occupation list, another one is consolidated skilled occupation list. So if he is looking for relative sponsored, his profile must be listed under SOL list.
Okay. And who accesses the skill select points basically, if we talk about Australia or Canada, both?
It's Department of Immigration and States, and Department of Immigration and States for Australia and Denmark both. They have the access to see that. Yeah.
Okay.
Can one give TOEFL or IELTS if he is looking for immigration for any of the countries, whether it's Canada, Australia or Denmark?
In Canada, TOEFL is basically not acceptable. They only accept IELTS and other things, but TOEFL is not acceptable. In Australia, it is acceptable. Yes.
Yeah, in fact, in Australia, they accept PTE as well. TOEFL, PTE, IELTS, these language tests are, in fact, will be accepted as far as Australian immigration is concerned. And for Denmark also, one can appear for TOEFL.
Okay, but
IELTS
for
and
Canada,
TOEFL.
only option is IELTS.
Yes, for
So
Canada,
in
it is
Canada,
only.
TOEFL is not acceptable, but in Denmark and in Australia, it is
Yeah,
acceptable.
it is.
Okay.
After how many years one can apply for citizenship? Are they going to get straight away PR, or is there any rule applicable to become a citizen of that country?
In Canada, it is like in total of 5 years, the person should stay at least for 3 years to get the citizenship for Canada.
And for Denmark, we get a visa for 2 years within option of an extension of another 3 years. So once we complete 5 years in Denmark, we can apply for the residency status, that is permanent residency, and after 6 years we can apply for the citizenship.
Okay. And normal processing time for that, applying for PR visa from here?
For Denmark green card, if it is 9 to 12 months, but PR will be applied on shore. Yeah, so it depends.
So initial visa will be issued in 9 to 12 months.
Initial visa will be issued in 9 to 12 months time. Yeah.
So normally if the applicant gets the visa, generally he gets time to make his initial entry. What is the time limit?
If we talk about Canada, it's like since the date of medical is valid, like if the medical happened in the month of September 2015, so his visa should be valid at least for September 2016. So basically it starts from the medical date to the getting the visa, so 6
So
months.
after submission of medical, one takes 3 months, 4 months time.
It's
so one
6
gets,
months.
Okay, so one gets normally 6 to 8 months time
Exactly,
to make the initial
to make the
entry.
first landing. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Right. And in case of Denmark, it is 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a fixed period.
That is a fixed period.
Date of grant or?
From the date of grant.
Okay.
It is valid for, the timeline is 6 months.
Okay.
And can we add our spouse later on? If I am the primary applicant and I have submitted my EOI, so can I
Can you add your spouse?
my spouse?
Yes, you can always make the changes in your EOI. You can always add your spouse, but if suppose your EOI has been submitted, so and if you want to add your spouse in that, you can do that till the time you will get an invite.
Okay.
Yes, so you can always make the changes in that.
And if someone has worked in that country for 3 months, 6 months, can we claim points for that country experience?
No, we cannot claim points for 3 months or 6 months period of time. If you want to claim the points for that particular experience, so
Yes.
you should work at least for 1 year. That is paid in full-time work experience there. 1 year.
Yeah, and I believe that is for Australia, Canada, and Denmark.
In Denmark also 12 months is mandatory?
Yeah, 12 months is mandatory.
Okay.
Okay, Sanam, if we talk about Hong Kong, so what are the financials requirement for that?
See, financial requirements, as Hong Kong is quite an expensive destination. So for a single applicant, it is somewhere around 7 to 8 lakhs. And for a family of 4, it is approximately 15 lakhs in INR. Yeah.
See, if I have done my education from Canada, so do I need to get my credential assessment done?
No, in that case, if you have studied from Canada, so there is no requirement to get those educational assessment done because your study is already from Canada itself. So
But
you
see,
don't require.
I have done my initial study from India, and after that I have done my higher study from Canada. So is it required or not
To
required?
claim for India, if you have studied in India, so if you want to claim points for the education which you did in India, you need to get your assessment done. And if you have done in Canada higher education, then that is not required because you will get the additional points for that education without the assessment. Yes.
And what supporting documents do we need once we receive our ITA?
Once you receive the invitation, so basic documents are there like your work experience document, your medicals, your PCC, your IELTS, your WS assessment. These basic documents, exactly, basically.
See, I have received my state visa and now I am planning to travel with my family. Can my dependents stay in some other state and they can do their study from some other state, or is it mandatory that all family members have to stay in the same state?
Each state and province have their own criteria on clause that they can stay for these years. So you cannot if your whole family gets a visa for that particular province only, so you have to be there in that designated period of time. So you cannot move to you or your spouse cannot move to some other country, or your children cannot go for study for other provinces. You have to be there. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Even kids cannot move to any
Even
other
kids
province.
cannot move. Yes.
Okay.
They have to be there only.
Okay. And do we, for Denmark, do we need the Danish authorization before applying for the Denmark green card, or we can do it post landing as well once we get the
There are some
visa?
professions which are regulated by law in Denmark. So you before applying you need to get the authorization done
Okay.
from the Danish authorities.
Okay.
Yes. But post landing, no, you have to get it done before applying.
Before
for the
applying
visa.
for
Yes,
this
yes,
visa.
Exactly.
That means first we need to go through the Danish authorization process, and then we can
Then
apply for
the visa.
the
Yes,
visa.
yes, yes.
Okay.
If your occupation requires that authorization, you need to apply it before.
Okay.
Yes. So Sanam, can I apply without any experience as well?
Yes, for Denmark one can apply without any experience. However, one should have an experience of minimum 1 year as far as Canada is concerned in the listed occupations, that means in the category of OAB, which are acceptable for Canada. And for Australia, to claim points, it should be minimum 3 years, and rest it depends upon the assessment body's requirement.
So in Denmark, is there any criteria of salary for first year?
Yes, once you get the visa, that means once you land in the country, they have a requirement that you should earn a salary of 50,000 Danish krones in that particular year.
So that will help him in sponsoring the spouse or help him in converting his visa from tier to peer?
Certainly, it will help the person to sponsor the dependents, as well as will help them to extend their visas. Yeah.
So with this visa, can I work in other European countries as well?
Once you get the permanent residency, yes, it is possible.
Okay,
to,
but with the visa I cannot.
Yes, because this is a work visa, which is available to you for only 2 years, and within with the requirement of another 3 years. In fact, one can apply for the extension once they complete 2 years. So once a person completes 5 years physical presence in the country, they can apply for PR status, and then they can move to other European countries also.
So after 5 years only one can move to other countries?
5 years.
Initially Denmark only?
Initially Denmark.
Okay.
And how about Canada? Can we move to US?
No, we can. With the Canadian PR, we cannot move to the US. But once you'll get the citizenship of Canada, you can apply for TR visa to USA, so you can work there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. After citizenship.
After
only.
getting the citizenship only, yes, and it is easily to get that because gateway is normally.
Okay. So is there a fee to create any express entry profile?
To create your express entry profile, there is no fees, but yes, once your profile get picked up and then you apply, then there is the processing fees.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And quota, is it there for Canada, Australia?
If we talk about Canada, there is no as such quota system as since the express entry has been started. But earlier we used to have it for each occupation, and for Australia we do have, I guess.
Yes, we do have quota as per individual profile to profile. Every profile has a quota, and it is applicable from financial year 1st of July to 30th June, because Australia financial year starts from 1st July to 30th June.
Okay. Okay. So for Australia, we have quota for specific occupations, and for Canada, as such, we don't have.
We don't have,
number
but
of
yes,
applicants can
but yes,
apply.
your occupation should be listed in the categories O, A, and B only. Yes.
Okay. 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 Because for Denmark, we usually don't have any quota. Yeah.
Normally, once we get a PR, so is there any benefits applicant gets in the countries like Denmark, Canada or Australia? What benefits we get?
See, for Denmark, as it's a work visa, so for initial period of 2 to 3 years, whatever time duration the person is there, till the time one gets the permanent residency, they cannot get the benefits of the country for Denmark. And for Canada, Australia, yes, there are benefits which are attached with this permanent, straight away permanent residency. Like one can get a free subsidized on a subsidized level. One can upgrade their education or kids' education.
Residence only one
Right, right.
have to pay the fee, so that is the extra benefit one gets once he gets the PR.
Right, and health benefits also
Okay.
are there. Depending upon the province, there once one is living,
Okay.
so it is there.
So there are benefits available. So when we apply for Canada PR, Himanshi, so is there any particular occupation in which we apply or total experience? How to select that?
You're basically we used to apply, we can apply for primary occupation, which is the one on which our application is based on. And primary occupation means in which we have the work experience for last 5 years and on which our application, Canadian immigration application is based on. So this is what primary occupation is. Yes.
So if one is having in two different profiles experience, so we have options to give alternate occupation also?
Yes, we do have, but primary occupation will be the one in which our application is based on, and other, if he has worked in some other occupation as well, so that can be considered as the secondary occupations for that. Yes.
Okay. And can we use the services of Mara agent? I mean, is it necessary or how should we?
As such, it is not necessary, but yes, one can always use the services of Mara agent. Mara agents are migration agents registered in Australia. So in India also there are a lot of agents are available. So in Indian people who are working as a consultant, so they are called offshore registered agent. We also get a registration from Department of Immigration. People who are resident of Australia or they are initially resident and then now move to India, so they have Mara agent number.
Okay.
So one can apply using either a Mara agent services or a Indian agent services.
Okay, so it is not necessary to
Look
have
for
a Mara
yeah.
agent. One can apply through offshore agents
Yes,
as well.
yes, one can.
Okay.
Are there any other options to apply for a visa except EOI?
No, because it's all in Canada and Australia, everything is online. One is looking for any visa, whether it's a work visa or a permanent resident visa. First, one needs to apply for EOI. And in EOI, there are alternate options which subclass he is looking for, which visa he is looking for. So he has to first submit his EOI, and after that only he can file for a visa.
Okay.
And is it mandatory to provide this settlement plan when we specifically talk about the state or the province? Do we need to submit that in EOI or can we submit it later?
See, in EOI we just need to submit a basic information, but when we talk about the state nomination or in Canada specific province nomination, so every province, every state has their own requirements. So we have to write a settlement plan why we are looking for a particular provincial nominee program, why we want to migrate to a Melbourne only, why not to Perth. So yes, there is a criteria of an individual state. We need to write a commitment statement, settlement plan and all these things.
Okay.
So only for state and provinces it is
Yes,
required basically.
yeah, not for EOI.
Not for EOI.
No.
So should I count the experience in the related occupation, or can I claim points for overall experience as well?
So you should have a minimum 1 year of work experience in the nominated occupation for your filing.
Okay.
Your
Which our application is based on.
Right,
Okay.
right. However, one can claim points on overall experience.
Overall
Like
experience.
if I have a 10-year of experience in overall experience, if I have 10 years, and in which I have 6 years in marketing and rest 4 years in some other occupation. So I am applying for the 4 years occupation, but I can claim points for the maximum number of years, which is the overall experience I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard about the draw system in Canada and Australia. So is there any specific time period of that, or it happens randomly?
See, normally we submit in EOI and there is a draw system applicable for Canada as well as for Australia. So every month they do 2 draws, in which for Canada they send ITA depending on number of applications. Normally between 1000 to 1500 we get ITA twice a month. And in Australia also, first draw will be first week of the month and second draw will be end of the month. So twice a month we get invites, as well as for Canada and
4
Australia.
years in some other occupation.
Yes.
What is the time frame to get the visas under Canada or Australia process?
It depends when your profile is getting picked up from the pool. If we talk about Australia, it is 4 to 6 months. Suppose your profile get picked up, so you need to submit your application for permanent residence for that particular government. So it is for Australia, for it is 4 to 6 months, and in Canada it's exact 6 months. Or maybe it depends on.
So
application to
basically it is once we get the invite,
Mhm.
the process depends upon that.
Exactly.
So 4 to 6 months or 6 to
Normally
8
it
months.
completes in 6 to 8 months time.
Okay. All right.
I hope we have covered most of the queries which we get from our prospective candidates. I believe it will be of great help to them. Thank you so much.